Hello everyone, this is Manas Tripathi here. Welcome to my video. This is uh, this is the video in the series in the Kubernetes series. Today we'll learn about how to manage Kubernetes clusters, how to set context, how to operate multiple Kubernetes clusters, right? Or how to find out which cluster you are in. Let's deep dive on that. So, to find out your Kubernetes cluster, you either have to check your config file, keep config file, right? Or you can run kubectl config command, right? Either of them you can use. So in the practice test of CKA, a Certified Kubernetes Administrator, you could get those questions as well. So you have to start from there. Basically, you have to start from the installation. You have to know the installation in detail, and then you have to know how to operate on Kubernetes cluster, right? So let's do that. So uh, we'll check which folder we are in. Let's do let's have to fill it here. Okay, and let's find out it should be our config file. It should be .q folder, and here you see the config file. You can you can open that file. Okay. Now you see the context. The current context is Kubernetes admin at the rate Kubernetes. So username is Kubernetes admin, and you see the certificate data and key data. Right. So here I have only one cluster, and I'm managing that through my Datsun cluster through my kubeconfig file. Right, and you can see the endpoint here, endpoint IP and the port, right, and the cluster. Uh, Basically, if you are given a different name to your cluster, that should come over here, and the user, all right, and then comes to the current context, right. So if you have multiple Kubernetes cluster, then you have those clusters mentioned over here and their authentication data, and then you should have a current context to which cluster it should run the command against. It should be defined in the current context, right? So the same thing we can do by kubectl config, right? So you can see uh, the same thing we are seeing over here, the endpoint and the context and the current context. We have only one context here, one Kubernetes cluster we are managing. If we have multiple, we can add it over here and we can manage them by setting up the current context, right? So if you want to get all the context for that, what you can do is kubectl config get context. So you can see the current context is set to this cluster. So if you have multiple cluster, you say star mark to the current cluster, and from that you can make out which your commands are running against which cluster, right? Saying that, so there are if you have like more than one cluster, right? Then what you can do is you can um, set a cluster entry, to your kubectl file dynamically. So for that, the command would be kubectl config set cluster, and basically you have to keep the cluster name here. Okay, for my case, it is Kubernetes. If I have more than one cluster, I can give cluster name for you. And if you have multiple Kubernetes cluster, then you want to set context to to a particular cluster so that you can run command against it. What you so it's it here, right? It's it here config use context, right? And we have to give the name. This is the name. So you can set the context to this cluster. So it is saying switch to this context. So essentially, I have only one cluster over here. So this doesn't mean anything. But if you are managing multiple cluster, so definitely you need to know this, and this will help you to administrate um, multiple cluster from same config file or same host, right? If you have a use case to do that, then let's say I want to let's say give it namespace, right? So let's see how many namespace is there. So basically, you see all these namespace, right? There is a prod namespace below, right? So I wanted to run everything under that namespace, right? So basically, on my every command, I can give type a name and the namespace name, or if I want not wanted to do that every time, what I can do is I can set context to that, right, to that namespace. So everything I run over there uh, should be every command I run in the Kubernetes should be run against uh, that particular namespace. And if I do not exclusively give any namespace name. So let's see that. So to see that, let's see if there are any ports on this namespace or not. So let's take that out and get pod hyphen n namespace prod. So there is no resource in this namespace, right? So what we can do is or maybe just let me see if I have anything in there. So even there I do not have anything. I think coordinate should have something there. Okay. Okay, let's do it for the Git system. We know definitely there would be pods over there. All right. So here you can see I'm exclusively giving the namespace name, right? And now I'll change the context to this namespace only. So even if it will work without this particular option, right? So now let's do that. So what we'll do is kubectl config set context happen current context. So current and give namespace equal to kube system. Okay. So we'll run the similar command without the namespace. Let's do that. Okay, okay, pod. That's it. So it should show us all the pods in the cube system namespace. So let's do that. Yeah. So now you can see it is giving us all these pods which are present under this namespace. So basically uh, we do not have to provide the namespace if we set the context. So it would be useful for you when you are doing administration and you wanted to go to some namespace frequently, or you may have to do a lot of tasks in one of the namespace like utilities or monitoring or such kind of namespaces. Then you can set those contexts and it will save a lot of time for you. And even in CKA exam also that will help you to save your time, right? Thank you. Thanks for watching this video. Please do subscribe this channel. I would uh, videos over here in Kubernetes series. And please do press that bell icon so that you will get notified once there is a new video. Thank you.